Have you ever logged into your brokerage account, seen that balance sitting there, and thought to yourself, is this actually going anywhere? Maybe you've scraped together $15,000, or perhaps you've been at this for years and finally crossed $50,000. Either way, that $1 million dream still feels like it's on another planet, doesn't it? Here's something that's going to sound absolutely insane. If you've managed to save and invest your way to $100,000, you're not just 10% of the way to becoming a millionaire, you're actually 1/3 of the way there. Yeah, you heard that right. 1/3, not 1/10. And no, I haven't lost my mind, and this isn't some motivational speaker nonsense. I'm James, and I've spent the last decade obsessed with understanding how wealth actually gets built instead of how people think it gets built. And if you're someone who wants to actually understand the mathematics of money rather than just crossing your fingers and hoping everything works out, hit that subscribe button right now and smash the like if this ends up clicking for you. So let's talk about how most people think wealth accumulation works. They've got this mental model in their head where wealth building is basically a straight line. You save $10,000, you're $10,000 richer. You save another $10,000, now you're $20,000 richer. It's simple addition, right? To get to $1 million, you just need to save $1 million. Elementary school math. Wrong. Dead wrong. This linear thinking is precisely why so many people look at their investment accounts after 5 or 6 years, see maybe $40,000 or $50,000 and do the mental calculation. Okay, if I've got $50,000 after 6 years, that means I need another 19 times this amount to hit $1 million. So that's 114 more years? And then they just give up. They figure they'll be long dead before this whole investing thing actually matters. And honestly, if money actually worked the way most people assume it does, they'd be absolutely correct to feel that way. If wealth building was just simple addition, you'd need to save every single dollar yourself. But here's what nobody seems to grasp until it's too late. Your money doesn't just sit there like a pile of cash under your mattress. When you invest properly, your money starts making more money. And then that new money starts making money. And then that money starts making money. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme I'm pitching here. This is basic mathematics that's been creating millionaires for over a century. But somehow, the vast majority of people either don't understand it, don't believe it, or give up before they ever see it work. Here's the thing that changes everything. Compound interest. Warren Buffett once said that compound interest is what made him wealthy, and that the key is simply to avoid interrupting it. Not stock-picking genius, not market timing, not insider information. Just letting compound interest do its thing over decades. The reason most people don't appreciate compound interest is that it's exponential, not linear. Let me show you exactly how this works with numbers that might genuinely shock you. Let's say you decide to invest $500 every month. That's $6,000 per year, which, yeah, it's real money, but for most people with a halfway decent job, it's not impossible. We're talking about maybe one less vacation per year, being more strategic about car purchases, or just generally spending a bit less on stuff you don't actually need. Now, assuming your investments earn 8% annually, which is actually conservative compared to the S&P 500's long-term average, here's what happens. To reach your first $100,000, it takes approximately 11 months and 2 months of consistent monthly contributions. 11 years. That probably sounds like an eternity, especially if you're just starting out. But think about it this way. 11 years ago was 2014. Remember 2014? That doesn't feel like ancient history, does it? Time passes whether you're building wealth or not. During those first 11 years, here's the breakdown of where that $100,000 comes from. You personally contribute $66,000 through your monthly investments. The remaining $34,000, that's pure investment returns. Your money has been working for you while you sleep, earning returns on returns. Now, I'll be honest with you. $34,000 in gains over 11 years isn't exactly mind-blowing. It's nice, sure, but it's not going to change your life. And this is where most people make the critical error. They look at these numbers and think, nah, this is too slow. I'm wasting my time. They don't realize they've just completed the hardest part of the entire journey. Alright, so you've hit $100,000 after 11 years of consistent investing. According to traditional logic, you're 10% of the way to $1 million, right? You need to do this 9 more times. Wrong, again. Here's the kicker. Getting to $200,000 takes only about 5 years and 10 months more. Let me repeat that because it's absolutely crucial. It took you 11 years to get from $0 to $100,000, but it only takes about 6 additional years to get from $100,000 to $200,000. You're doubling your money in roughly half the time. We're now 17 years into your investment journey, and you're sitting on $200,000. Of that amount, you've personally contributed about $102,000. The other $98,000, that's pure compound interest flexing its muscles. Your investment returns are almost equal to everything you've put in. But here's the part that's going to blow your mind. Even though you've only reached $200,000, you're actually halfway to becoming a millionaire. Not 20% of the way, not a quarter, you're halfway there. Think of it like pushing a massive stone ball up a steep hill. For the first 11 years, you're grinding, sweating, barely making progress, wondering if you'll ever reach the top. But once you get that ball to the crest of the hill, physics takes over. That ball starts rolling down the other side, picking up speed, and suddenly you're chasing it instead of pushing it. The exponential curve is starting to bend upward, and from this point forward, every dollar you've already invested is working harder than you are. This is why the wealthy get wealthier at what seems like an unfair pace. They're not working harder than you, their money is just further along the exponential curve. So let's follow this all the way through. You keep making those same $500 monthly contributions. Nothing fancy, just consistency. By year 25, you've crossed $400,000. By year 32, you're at $700,000. And here's where things get really exciting. By year 36 years and 4 months, you hit that 7-figure milestone, $1 million. Now let's look at the breakdown. Over those 36 years, you personally contributed $218,000, but your account shows over $1 million. That means more than 78% of your wealth came from compound growth, not from your paycheck. Think about what this actually means. You're now earning approximately $80,000 per year just from investment returns. Remember how long it took you to accumulate your first $100,000? Now you're generating almost that much every single year without lifting a finger. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, Alex, this all sounds great on a whiteboard, but what about inflation? What about market crashes? What about the fact that I can barely save $200 a month, let alone $500? Let's tackle these head on, because these questions separate the people who build wealth from the people who spend their lives making excuses. First, inflation. The 8% return I'm using here is actually after accounting for inflation. Historically, the stock market returns about 10% annually, but I'm being conservative because I'd rather you exceed expectations and fall short. We're already building in a cushion. Second, market crashes. Yes, they happen. Your balance will drop, sometimes dramatically. But here's something counterintuitive. Market downturns actually help long-term investors. When prices crash, your $500 monthly contribution buys more shares. When the market recovers, and historically it always has, those extra shares you accumulated during the downturn become incredibly valuable. It's like having a coupon that says 50% off all stocks and then refusing to use it because you're scared. The rational move is to keep buying, or even buy more. The people who panic and sell during crashes are literally buying high and selling low, which is the exact opposite of what works. Now, about not being able to find $500 a month. I get it, everyone's situation is different, but let's be real for a second. The average American spends $412 per month on dining out and takeout. $412. If you could cut that in half by meal prepping on Sundays and cooking at home 4 nights instead of 2, you'd free up over $200 right there. Or consider this, the average new car payment in America now is over $700 per month for 72 months. That's insane. You're paying $700 every single month for something that loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. If you bought a 3-year-old certified pre-owned vehicle instead, you could cut that payment by $300 or more and invest the difference. I'm not saying you should eat rice and beans every meal or drive a car with 300,000 miles on it, but I am saying that most people have way more flexibility in their budgets than they think. The real issue isn't the money, it's that we've normalized the level of spending that makes wealth building impossible. There's something that happens psychologically when you hit that $100,000 mark that's hard to explain until you experience it. Suddenly, wealth building stops being theoretical and becomes visceral. Before $100,000, your annual returns might generate $4,000 or $5,000 in a good year. Nice, but not life-changing. Once you cross 6 figures, annual returns can easily hit $10,000 to $15,000. In an exceptional year, you might see $20,000 or more in gains. These aren't abstract numbers anymore. That's a car, a wedding, a down payment on a rental property. This is when people start to understand what Charlie Munger meant when he said, the first $100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it. It's not just about the dollar amount. It's about proving to yourself that you can delay gratification, stick to a plan through volatility, and prioritize your future self over your present desires. The beautiful part about this whole process is that it fundamentally changes how you think about money. That $150 dinner isn't just $150 anymore. It's $150 that could have turned into $600 over the next 20 years at 8% annual returns. That $40,000 car isn't just $40,000. It's potentially $160,000 in lost investment growth over 2 decades. Now, I'm not saying you should never enjoy your money. Life's too short for that. But wealthy people understand opportunity cost at a deep level. They know that every dollar has the potential to become multiple dollars, and that knowledge influences every financial decision they make. There's also the opportunity factor. When you have substantial investments, you gain options that don't exist for people living paycheck to paycheck. A great job opportunity comes along, but